When The Breakfast Club premiered in 1985, no one expected a simple film about 5 high school students in detention to become a cultural landmark. Directed by John Hughes, the movie stripped away the glossy image of teenage life and replaced it with honesty, awkwardness, pain, and connection. The film's story, 5 strangers forced to face each other and themselves in a single Saturday detention, captured the loneliness, anger, and confusion that every teenager hides behind a mask. It became more than a teen movie. It became a statement about identity and stereotypes. But behind its timeless message and unforgettable performances, The Breakfast Club was filled with unusual choices, strange behind-the-scenes moments, and stories that make this classic even more fascinating. Here are 15 weird and surprising facts you probably didn't know about The Breakfast Club, 1985. The entire movie takes place in a fake library built inside a gym. Most of the story happens inside a single high school library, but in reality there was no such place. The production built the entire set inside the gymnasium of a closed-down high school in Illinois. Every bookshelf, window, and staircase was built from scratch. This fake library gave Hughes and his team complete control over camera movement, lighting, and sound. It also added a strange sense of isolation and emptiness, perfectly matching the emotional distance the characters feel at the beginning of the film. The cast helped write their own lines. John Hughes wanted the movie to sound as natural as possible, so he encouraged the cast to improvise and rewrite parts of their dialogue. During rehearsals, he had the actors share personal stories from their own school experiences, which later inspired some of the lines in the film. The powerful confession scene in which the characters open up about their lives came largely from these improvisations. The result is a script that feels less like acting and more like 5 real teenagers talking to each other. Emilio Estevez was supposed to play Bender. At first, Emilio Estevez was cast as the rebellious John Bender, while another actor was chosen for the jock role. When the original actor dropped out, Estevez switched to play Andrew Clark, the athlete. It's strange to imagine him in Bender's shoes, but the switch worked perfectly. Estevez's sensitive energy balanced the group, while Judd Nelson's intensity made Bender unforgettable. The movie was filmed in sequence from beginning to end. Unlike most Hollywood movies that shoot scenes out of order to save money, The Breakfast Club was filmed chronologically. John Hughes wanted the actors to experience the same emotional journey their characters did, growing more comfortable and vulnerable as time passed. You can actually see the change on their faces. The stiffness and distance at the start slowly melt into warmth and connection by the final scene. Don't You Forget About Me almost didn't exist. The song that became the anthem of the film was almost never made. The hit track by Simple Minds wasn't written by the band. It was offered to several artists who all rejected it, including Billy Idol and Brian Ferry. Simple Minds only agreed to record it reluctantly. Ironically, it became their biggest hit and is now one of the most recognizable songs of the 1980s. The song's placement over the film's ending, when Bender raises his fist in victory, became one of the most iconic moments in movie history. Judd Nelson's method acting nearly got him fired. Nelson stayed in character as Bender even when the cameras stopped rolling. He would insult and tease his co-stars, especially Molly Ringwald, to keep up his tough attitude. Director John Hughes didn't like his behavior and almost fired him. It was only after the rest of the cast defended Nelson, saying his behavior was helping his performance, that Hughes let him stay. The tension ended up adding realism to Bender's unpredictable presence. The first cut of the film was almost 3 hours long. The original version of The Breakfast Club was nearly twice as long as the final movie. It included entire scenes exploring the students' families, a sequence in which they go through each other's lockers, and more of their conversations about sex and home life. Hughes had to cut most of it to fit the standard runtime, but he always planned to release a longer director's cut. Sadly, Hughes passed away in 2009, and that version has never been made public, making it one of the most sought-after lost films in pop culture. The Breakfast Club was a real slang term. The title wasn't just invented for the movie. It came from a real phrase used by students and teachers in some Illinois high schools to describe kids who had to arrive early for detention or punishment. John Hughes heard the term from local teens and loved how it captured the feeling of being punished, but connected through a shared experience. Molly Ringwald was almost not cast at all. Although Ringwald became the face of the film, the studio originally wanted another actress to play Claire, the princess. Hughes had worked with Ringwald before on 16 Candles and insisted she was perfect for the part. He even rewrote parts of the script to fit her strengths. Their collaboration made her one of the most iconic teenage stars of the 1980s, though they later had creative differences on future projects. There was supposed to be a sequel. Hughes once said he wanted to revisit the characters every 10 years to show how their lives turned out. He even discussed a potential sequel with Judd Nelson and Molly Ringwald. But after disagreements and strained relationships between Hughes and some of the cast members, the idea was dropped. Fans have speculated for decades about what happened to those 5 characters after detention, but maybe the mystery is what keeps the story timeless. The library scene's smoke was real. When Bender lights up and the group sits in a haze of smoke, the smoke you see isn't special effects. It's actual marijuana. The actors joked that the relaxed mood in those scenes felt too real. Hughes didn't confirm whether it was intentional or not. But the looseness and laughter in that sequence show a shift in the group's dynamic that feels completely genuine. Anthony Michael Hall's mother appears in the film. At the beginning of the movie, when Brian, played by Anthony Michael Hall, is dropped off at school, the woman driving the car is actually Hall's real-life mother. The man sitting next to her is his sister. Hughes liked to include small personal details like this to make his movies feel authentic and grounded in reality. The janitor's role was symbolic. Carl the janitor might seem like a minor background character, but he actually represents the adult perspective in the story. He's the only grown-up who doesn't judge the students based on their stereotypes. He quietly observes them and even calls out the assistant principal for his hypocrisy. His presence reminds viewers that adults once lived through the same insecurities and mistakes. The ending was changed at the last minute. The original ending included each student writing a separate essay explaining who they were, but Hughes decided to replace it with Brian's single collective essay. That essay sums up the entire message of the movie, that every person is more than the label given to them. It was a last-minute creative decision that turned a good ending into a perfect one. The fist pump ending was improvised. Perhaps the most famous shot in the film, Bender walking across the football field and raising his fist, wasn't in the script. Judd Nelson came up with it during filming. Hughes loved the idea, and it became the perfect closing image. It's a symbol of quiet victory, rebellion, and self-acceptance. That moment, combined with Simple Minds' anthem, became one of the most celebrated endings in movie history. The Breakfast Club continues to resonate decades later because it speaks a truth that never fades. Everyone, no matter their age, has felt misunderstood, trapped, or judged. The film breaks down walls between people who think they have nothing in common and shows that vulnerability can be stronger than rebellion. It also captures the awkward beauty of being young, when you don't know who you are yet, but you're desperate to be seen. John Hughes created something timeless out of an ordinary detention day, proving that deep human connection can happen in the most unexpected places. Behind its famous one-liners and 80s nostalgia lies a story about empathy, identity, and the courage to be honest. And that is why The Breakfast Club isn't just a movie, it's a mirror for every generation that watches it.